All right, thank you for coming back to part 2 and finishing off your day 2 of factoring. We are now going to look at grouping, and what we're going to have to use here is that GCF stuff that we were ending our part 1 on. So when you have more than 3 terms, like 4 or more, grouping is going to be your best method for factoring. So looking at these 4 terms, they do not all have a GCF. I cannot use my X method, I can't use sum or difference of cubes or even difference of squares. So what I'm going to do instead is group them into the first 2 and the second 2. From each individual group, what I can now look at is, do those 2 have a common factor? And in this first grouping, I can take out a 2x, and in the second grouping, I can take out a 3. What that leaves me with is 2x times x plus 4 and 3 times x plus 4. Well, x plus 4 is now a common factor that I can bring to the front, and my second factor will now be the coefficients from the first factorization that I did. And just like before, you could FOIL this to make sure that you factored correctly. So we're going to jump into a few examples. This first one is the one that we just kind of worked through, but I'm going to show you how to do it in action. So between 2x cubed and 8x squared, the biggest integer that divides both coefficients is 2. And the lowest power is x squared. So if I take out 2x squared, that leaves me with x plus 4. And on my second grouping, all I can take out is a GCF of 3, and that will leave me with x plus 4. Now these both have an x plus 4 common factor. And if I bring that to the front, I have x plus 4. What's left over from the first group is 2x squared. And what's left over from the second group is positive 3. So this is my final answer, and if you were to FOIL this back out, you would get what you started with. All right, moving on, I have y cubed plus 5y squared. I can take out a y squared from that, and that will leave me with y plus 5. On my second group, I can take out a 7, and that will leave me with y plus 5. These both now have a y plus 5 as a common factor, so I can bring that to the front. And I am left with y squared plus 7 in my second parentheses. And if I FOIL that back out, I would get what I started with. Moving on, 8n cubed plus 56n squared. That tells me I can take out an 8n squared, and that will leave me with n plus 7. For my second grouping, I can take out a 3, and that will also leave me with n plus 7. So n plus 7 is now a common factor. And if I bring that to the front, what I will have left over is 8n squared plus 3. Now, it's important once you get to this step to double check that there's not a GCF, a sum or difference of cubes, a difference of squares, or a trinomial that popped up that you can factor further, because we need to make sure we're factoring completely. Okay, moving on to our next one. 30v cubed and 20v squared. I can take out 10v squared, and that will leave me with 3v plus 2. On my second group, I can take out a 5, and that will leave me with 5v plus 4. Now, looking at what I ended up with, these are not the same. There is no common factor, so this one is not factorable. Okay, moving on to our last two. 46x to the third minus 6x squared. I can take out a 6x squared, and that will leave me with 8x minus 1. On my second group, I have negative 384x and 48. I can take out a 48, and remember, when that first coefficient is negative, I'm wanting you to factor out the negative as well. So I'm going to take out negative 48, and that will leave me with 8x minus 1, which is now a common factor. So I have 8x minus 1 and 6x squared minus 48. Now, looking at 6x squared minus 48, those two terms have a common factor of 6. So I can bring that to the front, and that will have me with x squared minus 8 left over. Okay, and then last but not least, 15y cubed minus 75y squared. I can take out a 15y squared from that, and I will be left with y minus 5. And on my second grouping, 35y minus 175, I can take out a 15 from that. Sorry, I can take out a 35 from that. I apologize. And that will also leave me with y minus 5. So these are now a common factor, y minus 5. And I have 15y squared plus 35 left over. Well, 15y squared and 35 have a common factor of 5, so I can take that out as well. And I will be left with 3y squared plus 7. And now I am finished factoring. All right, that wraps up our day 2 of factoring.